he's the one the one was into the Bali since 80 up in Blanca. He arrived there, but then he went back to Guatemala and brought my mom. And so we are the first family. My dad actually.
I was not born here in the United States. I was born in Guatemala, and so it was because of my parents and my uncle too, because it was my dad who followed my uncle here to Alamosa, and so that's how I arrived here. I arrived here in 1994, and it was just like my parents' vision, or like what they wanted, like the purpose of leaving our homeland. In different ways, there was a reason why, because the Civil War was still ongoing at that time, but at the same time, economic opportunity as well.
Como nosotros que estamos aquí, pues esto estamos recordando de los 80 que mucha gente, niños inocentes que se murió en los 80 por medio de la masacre, pues eso es lo que estamos hablando, dialogando aquí, pues recordando como guatemaltecos que somos viviendo aquí en este gran país, aquí en Alamosa.
Yo creo que en ese tiempo cuando nos organizamos, siempre había la comunidad, pero lo que pasa la comunidad de Alamosa no sabía que existíamos, no sabía que estamos aquí en este lugar, y cuando nos organizamos con la gente, pues en ese entonces éramos todos jóvenes, y cuando estamos caminando en la vida, en el proceso siempre hay tristeza, hay alegría, hay soledad entre la comunidad, porque muchos de nosotros dejamos a nuestros padres, a nuestra familia, y venimos a luchar aquí por un gran futuro, pero ya llegamos aquí, nos ponemos melancólicos. En el año 93 es cuando uno de los muchachos que vino en Los Ángeles, California, que vino a visitar y nos dijo cómo están o cómo están viviendo, y tiene unas ideas y por qué no se organizan. Entonces allí es donde la comunidad o los mayores en ese entonces platicamos, y allí se organizó la comunidad del año 93.
Maybe we're talking about 92, and then we decide to organize in September 93. And we say, we have different points, like I say, okay, but here, who gonna taking care, or who gonna taking care about us if we're not gonna get together? Yeah, and we think about this, how we can still live, or what's gonna happen with our culture, what's gonna happen with our language.
So what did happen in 93?
We organize, we pick the president or secretary or treasurer in the community. We call the community coming together. At the Sacred Church, we are like maybe 4 or 5 of us. We already talk about it, and then we call to the community, and they come in at that place, and then we told them our plans. This is the idea, what you guys think about these ideas. If it's good to be together, to organize, and everybody say, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. And we tell them what the points, what we want to do. One is to how, if something happened to us, or somebody going to jail, or somebody go pass away, we have no insurance, life insurance, because mostly at that time it's a lot of people undocumented. They don't have documentation to stay here, and where we can ask for help. And maybe and those years it's not too many people in the community speak English, just a couple of us. And then they say, too many people don't speak Spanish too. Where we can go ask for help? But we are too many. We can be together, and that way, maybe if I have problem or I have question, maybe I can ask somebody in the community to help me, or have any idea to go with me, maybe on the store or maybe to somewhere. That way we can be together. Like our ancestors say, that's better to be together. That way we're not gonna lose our culture, our language, our identity.
¿En ese entonces?
Sí,
¿Ese grupo?
sí tenía nombre, sí, se llama Ivonne.
¿Cómo?
Sí, indígenas vigentes a la organización guatemalteca.
Yvonne.
Sí, Ivonne. Y luego, como todos cambiaron porque vinieron a gente que se juntó con mexicano o con unos que hablan español. Entonces ya en ese entonces se cambió el nombre. Por eso lo que cambió el nombre se llamó en espíritu maya.
Well, I think they were in a new country, a lot of the people had no idea who they were. They also dressed differently. I remember that when people would say, who are these people? They're dressed very differently because they would have their traje, or the men were, and they just looked different. And so people were reserved, and they were too, and especially because they did not speak the language. A lot of them that first came in spoke mostly the Q'anjob'al. The men, I think, spoke Spanish, but the women did not. So that's why I think they kept to themselves.
Yo quiero saber si realmente los jóvenes saben cómo bailar en la manera tradicional. ¿Cuál es su opinión?
Guatemala, canal canal yet ladino yet canal kaiti manshawade lo yaone yutol ay kon sonti sala kula lil chile bet chaye canal we ayul kun tut ala masati shiwsha chi salo kheb canal we masanil ichamwina ishnamil ish ach opo shiwsha tranquilil chek kun in sarapayel chek instante vlalia atong happy hijo valioso ay asimaman ichamwinak chunula visitar bayot Alamosa. Gracias chunulela asantong hatu kachachuan kan despedir hilko bata adiós.
Y en pocas palabras.
Ella dice que los niños saben bailar y saben bailar la música mexicana también y la música tradicional. Ella dice que este es algo importante y ella dice todos bailan. Aquí no hay viejos niños y todos bailan, dice ella.
And they were refugees.
Asylum applicants, yeah, fleeing the civil war from Guatemala. More and more people started coming, like I said, the relatives or people that just, and then a lot of the children that were, when they started having children and their children went to school, and so the community started just getting larger. Where I think there's probably, I think Francisco and I spoke, there's probably about 600 in here in Alamosa, and then there's also a small community that's also started establishing in Center, just probably within the last 3 years.
Center being
Center, Colorado.
a small town.
Yeah, it's another agricultural town that has attracted, because they work in the potato warehouses and farm work. There's always been that strong sense of family that they get together for weddings, they get together for funerals, just celebrating, and they're very united. What I find fascinating is that even when a Guatemalan, passes away, and the family doesn't have the money for a burial or for funeral expenses, the community will, make a collection among themselves, and they come out and really help the person, get through a tough time. And
is there a common sense of what real goals should be, like education, etc., among the younger generation?
Among the younger generation, we have seen that now, where a lot of them, before 20 years ago, I don't think we had very many that were even graduating from high school. In the last 10 years, we have them not only graduating from high school, but going on to college and graduating. We have one, Juan, that has graduated now with his PhD, is in California. So you can see so it's awesome. It's just the growth, and the parents really value the education, and they'll do whatever it takes to, to make, sure that their children are successful. I have one of my employees now that is from the Guatemalan community, and that is fluent in all 3 languages.
I was assigned here as a seminarian in the summer of 1997. Father Gary Kennedy was pastor. The late Mary Ann Dunn asked me to go out to Adams Lane. There's some cabins where the Mayan community lived. So I knocked on the door. There was a young lady about 13. She answered the door, and I explained what was happening in the parish to her in Spanish. She spoke to her grandmother in Q'anjob'al. Then she answered me in fluid, perfect English. So I was very impressed with her skills in languages, 3 languages fluently, as a teenage girl.
Growing up, going to school was a bit of a struggle my first few years, but after that, so when I started off going to school, like my kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, I struggled with English. I was not fluent in English. I didn't speak English at first because it wasn't my first language. Growing up, I speak and spoke Q'anjob'al with my parents, since that's the only language we had in the household at that time. And then times went by and I learned English, and then maybe around my 7th or 8th grade year, I learned Spanish. So it's been quite a challenge, but I got through it.
There wasn't that much resource, especially for immigrants or those students that English is not their first language. And so that was one of the issues that I saw growing up. But nowadays, there are teachers now who are Guatemalans that are now starting to, get themselves into the public school. And nowadays, with the history of the community in Alamosa, now they are recognizing there is a Mayan community. And so kind of what I hear and see that, it is starting to, it's something that the public school here is seeing, that there is this growing community. And so there are now resources that are being implemented. And so it is something that I see eventually gain strength, so where students of immigrant or Guatemalan background will be able to gain that same opportunity as other students.
In school,
or
was there
their peers
understanding
as well.
on the part of teachers and the school in general about you're being Guatemalan and you're being not just Latino, having a Maya language too? Was there understanding on the part of teachers?
Some, not all. Some understand the struggle one needs with English and others don't. Like others expect you to just know the English language and just to be able to speak it. In school, I would speak Q'anjob'al and I would speak Spanish to help out others, not just myself. And I feel like some teachers would get mad. Like they didn't want to hear me because they always thought that I was, or we would be talking bad about them. So, and I usually say sorry because I sometimes feel sorry because I feel like they think I say something bad about them when I'm really not. But some teachers do understand more than others. But besides that, I didn't have any other problems. Everybody kind of understood that my background was being native and coming from a native land, and even though I was born from here, I won't forget the roots of where I came from. So.
¿Cree que esto es importante a no olvidar sus raíces?
Sí, sí, más muy importante.
I went to public school. I graduated the local high school in 2011, and went straight into college here at Adams State, and spent a few years here at Adams State. I got my bachelor's in music education, and after I completed my BA here, I directly went straight to grad school and applied at UCLA, which is where I'm at currently. I had wanted to learn more about the music that I grew up with, especially here in Alamosa, where it is known to have a small or now growing Mayan community and population. And growing up, the adults or the mature elders were the ones who maintained the music that they grew up with, especially the marimba. And so from there, we did learn a little bit where the marimba comes from, but more in my case, because I was interested in the history. I've got an understanding of Western music, but then starting to questioning, what is the history of my people's music? And so that's what led me into this field known as ethnomusicology. But with music, I was able to continue my study, and I had already a deep connection with music. I was already playing the marimba by the time I finished high school, and then after that, I just grew up with music. Especially the marimba among the Maya people, it is very significant. They use music to accompany their rituals, ceremonies, and so with that also plays a role or has this relationship with the spirituality, religion, and music.
Los colores representan muchas cosas, todo lo que es en nuestra naturaleza. Por eso para el maya, la naturaleza, nuestro cosmos, es lo más importante, es lo que tiene más significado. A la hora de cortar un árbol, tienes que pedir permiso a la madre tierra, porque estás cortando una vida, estás matando una vida.
The first fiesta, because we organize in September. And then the fiesta, I'm not sure, I think we do the first fiesta, it's San Rafael, La Independencia, that's the first fiesta we do it, because that's the first fiesta coming in October. And then in February, year after that, we do the Santa Eulalia fiesta. But in those time we don't have the marimba, we play in the cassette. Yeah, we have the cassette from Santa Eulalia, and we put it in the stereo. We play the marimba in the cassette, and we dance. And now everybody is like professional to play in the marimba. Not very professional people playing the marimba, but what's pretty good. We're happy when we get the marimba in the first time.
And what I see is that they are moving throughout the valley to where work might be. So there are more of a Q'anjob'al community in center and other parts of the valley. And so to me that's a sign that they're accepted and embraced by most people in the San Luis Valley. And I can see why, because I think most people in the San Luis Valley have similar values of faith and family and hard work, and these are the traits that I see in the Q'anjob'al community, people whose first language is Q'anjob'al from the Mayan culture. So they've been a blessing to our Alamosa Parish, Alamosa County, and throughout the valley.
Donde trabajamos todos juntos es allí en el hongo de Rakra Mushroom Farm. En ese entonces, ahora ya es diferente nombre de la compañía, pero en ese entonces se llama Rakra Mushroom Farm. Es donde trabajamos todos juntos y toda nuestra comunidad allí trabajan. Se fue un poco abajo la economía de Rakra, entonces se cerró un buen tiempo y luego después lo abrieron otra vez de vuelta. Sí, pero en ese entonces es cuando nosotros nos dio un grupo de personas nos dio la oportunidad de sembrar nuestra propia comida en un lugar que se llama Head Start. Es parte de una escuela donde nos abrieron puertas que cuando se cerró el hongo, cuando se despació, entonces nos dijeron que podíamos plantar nuestra propia comida para así salir un poco adelante.
And we were able to actually purchase the land on February 29th, 2016. And during that time, it was back in 2012, that the Guatemalan community, Mayan community, came through a relationship with Marianne Dunn and Patrick O'Neill through the Catholic Church, kind of shared the story of the struggles with, people of mixed documentation trying to access safety nets when the Rockford Mushroom Farm went bankrupt. And so we negotiated with the school district to allow them to grow food here, just like we were still keeping the community garden going, even though they hadn't sold the land yet. They had let us to keep the community garden going. And so the school district agreed, and they started growing food here. And as we're trying to save this land, they're growing phenomenal crops. And they're demonstrating what could be done on this land as we're trying to save it. So it was such a beautiful gift. And so it was really because of the Mayan community and the relationship with Trust for Public Land that we were actually able to pull off this miracle of saving this land.
Sí, nosotros estamos trabajando aquí en una compañía de Mushroom Farm, Colorado. Yo el primer día que llegué a trabajar allí, cuando yo llegué y lo miré con puros paisanos, puros Q'anjob'ales, pues se me hizo una sorpresa porque pensaba que ya no hablan nuestro idioma, como que se pierde, pero no, ahí como una sorpresa. Hay 3 supervisores que hablan puro Q'anjob'al y la mayoría que nosotros trabajamos en la compañía hablamos en nuestro idioma Q'anjob'al. Francisco sí trabajó allí, por eso son los primeros trabajadores, así como Q'anjob'al, como guatemaltecos, ellos son los primeros trabajadores allá en la compañía.
Mexicanos, pero el tanto por ciento la mayoría es guatemalteca, indígena guatemalteca.
En otras plantas así como pues no sé. De hecho que sí hay guatemaltecos, pero es poco, unos 2, 3 guatemaltecos que trabajan en otra planta así como la compañía, pero aquí ya todos somos de Guatemala y principalmente somos puro Q'anjob'al.
Pedro told me that your dad wanted to be buried here. And he
Yeah.
was buried here.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. So,
Concerning.
yeah, he is, and my mom just passed away on December last year. So she's buried here too. So, yeah, we staying here.
Alamosa Colorado, grababa de nuevo caseta, no hay que